Our newest project is our ceiling vents. They have motors in it and it helps cool down our RV if you don't want to use your air conditioning. And while we were driving, what happened was the vibration made the motor mount in the vent break. So the motor was hanging down on the screen and it wasn't spinning correctly. And what happened over time was that the plastic got brittle and the vibration from driving was enough just to make it shatter. So my first attempt was to replace the unit with just the motor and the motor mount. But I thought about it, and as the plastic is brittle on this part, I'm sure it's brittle on the ceiling too, and on the vent itself. So I went to just to replace the whole unit. So that's what we're going to discuss today, is how to put a new vent into your ceiling on your motor coach or RV. First task was to get a replacement vent. And the product that we had was a Fan-Tastic vent, and so I wanted to replace it with a Fan-Tastic vent. And I tried to get one that was identical, and this model is obsolete by about 10 years. So the newer ones have a shorter motor on it. They're a little bit lighter. So I went with the same options though. A 3-speed switch, a reversible switch, a fuse, and this does not have the auto close for the moisture. So I got the same thing that came out to be the 1250 model, so that's what we're going to put in. And the other items you need to get while you're purchasing the vent is a sealant, the lap sealant to go over your screws and the outer edges, and then the tape sealant to put on the roof itself, 1 inch wide, so that'll seal the unit down to the roof. Then when you screw it in, it'll get a good watertight seal. So the first step we have to do is remove the old vent, and then we'll put in the new vent. So I had 4 screws here, and I took the screws out, and so this unit will just slide down, and that takes out the inner shrouding, so that'll be good. Then we have the wires. We have 2 sets. One's to the thermostat control, which is on the wall. Not all RVs will have that, and this is the hotline, the power in and power out. So what I'll do now is go up on the roof and we'll remove the unit. We started to take the vent down from the inside. We pulled the collar down and we ran into a problem. And so now I'm actually on day 2. This should have been a 1-day project, but has now gone into 2 days. The reason is twofold. The first reason was it started to rain outside. So I wouldn't be able to get the roof dry enough and put the sealant on and get enough dry time into it for that to harden up. But the biggest problem was not that. It was that these vents, the model that I have, or I purchased, is designed for 2 wires coming in, a positive and a negative, and it's a 12-volt wire system. When I pulled down the collar, I found that there was 4 wires up there. And the reason why is there's 4 wires is because on our wall we have a thermostat that controls the vent when the vent is open. And I made the assumption, you know what assumption stands for, that was wired in so that would go directly to the power supply and into the motor and would control the motor directly. But that's not how the fan company designed it. Fan-Tastic Fan vent puts in a relay inside the fan housing itself, and the thermostat controls the relay, which then engages the fan motor. And that was not a simple task to figure out. So what I had to do was dissect the old fan, which is still up here. This is the old fan housing, and you can see how the Monaco welds in the frames and so forth in the aluminum. So they do a great job building these coaches, and you can see the insulation up there too. But I had to take a relay off of the old fan and install it in the new fan so that I would have 4 wires coming out. I would not suggest, unless you have some wiring experience, that if you have a remote relay, to either A, bypass it and not use it, and I did not want to do that, or hire somebody to come in and rewire it for you and actually finish the install if you don't have that knowledge. So what we're going to do next is go up to the roof and we'll take this unit out. I stripped out the inside, so we just have to take off the sealant and the screws, push that out, clean it all up, put new sealant down, and then lower this new unit in. And then we can come inside, connect the wires, put the shrouding up, and we'll be good to go. And hopefully we won't run into any more problems like we did with the first day. So we'll go up on the roof and we'll see you there. Now we're on the roof. We're going to take off our rain cover to the vent to access the base. And we'll have to disconnect this completely so we can get that all off completely. We're going to take a knife and cut around the tape here, scrape the edges off, and then we'll be able to pull out the unit and replace it that way. So first thing I'm going to do is get some tools and take the nuts and bolts off of this. So now that I have the outer rain shield off, which is taking the 2 bolts off, I am going to use the utility blade, but be careful for your roofing material that you don't hurt your roof. So I'm just going to cut that edge along so I can scrape that off. And you don't want to cut yourself, obviously, either. To remove the brackets on the sides, they're screwed into the side of the housing. So you're just going to take a screwdriver and a pair of pliers and unscrew these so the brackets can come off. And that'll remove those out of the way, and I'll reuse those for when I reinstall them. Okay, I scraped some of the adhesive off the top of the screw holes. And then what I do is I take my drill with the screwdriver bit and I get onto the screw head and I pull it out. And I had a couple surprises because a couple of the screws were really long and I had some shorter ones too in the corners. I guess the longer ones went into the studs where the other ones did not. And then I should be able to break the seal to get the skylight out. And then once I get the skylight out, I'll clean it up and get the adhesive off. I have all the screws out. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 16 of them, and I had to take the hinge off to get to the ones underneath here. I'm going to break the edge all around with my blade, and then we'll clean it up to install the new one. You want to be careful you don't cut yourself. Got my blade underneath, and I got one side up, and I pulled inside and I lifted it, and the whole unit will be removed now. And so that's the old one. The old one is out. And now what I have to do is clean up these edges so I can put new adhesive down and put the new unit in. And that's going to be the biggest time consuming part, is the cleanup section. So I'm going to use the scraper, scrape some of this off. And then once I get it off, I'm going to go down and get a solvent. And then we'll use the solvent and get the rest of it off. So the next step, as I said, is all cleanup. To clean up the hole so I can drop the new one down. So I'll take care of that now. Did a lot of scraping with the wide scraper and making straight edges across. I made a straight edge here so I can seal up to there, straight edge in the back. And I scraped off all the loose sealant all the way around. So now I'm going to go get some solvent in a towel and remove the rest of the adhesive so I have a good clean finish for my new sealant to stick to. I tried using some of the acetone to remove the adhesive around the edges, and that didn't work too well. It started taking off the paint. So I had some adhesive remover that I've had for a number of years, and that seems to be cutting it off. And it gets it up pretty clean. So the object here is to get as much of it off as we can, so our new adhesive will have a good finish, a good contact point with no dirt, so it'll be a good strong finish and seal, which is what we want to accomplish. Then once I have this all cleaned off, I'll do a dry fit to make sure the unit fits well, and then I will tape in put the sealant tape down. Yeah. This is the sealing tape that we're going to put on. It's adhesive, and we'll go right along the edges over the screw holes all the way around, and then we'll set the unit down. So let's do a dry fit real quick and see how this fits in and make sure we're good with that. And we want to make sure we have the hinge on the correct side. Hinge is going to be on the front, so that then when the unit's in, this should fit right down like that, and the screw holes line up, which they do. So what I'm going to do to help aid this as far as mounting it, I'm going to put some marks where the screw holes are, because I want to try to use as many as the original screw holes as I can. They're not quite all the same, but a good number of them are. So I'll get a pencil and I'll just mark where the lines are, and that's how that's going to fit in, just like that. So that'll be a nice fit. It looks good. So let me get a pencil and we'll mark those. So I'm just going to put a line where each screw hole is, so that when I put that down, it'll mark where my screws are going to go, so I don't have to re-drill holes. I don't want to put as few new holes in this roof that I need to. But if I have to drill a new one, I will. So at least this way I have an idea of where the holes are. So that should be good. So wherever there's a line, there's going to be a hole. So now we're going to take one final check, make sure I got as much of that adhesive off as I can, and it looks good. We're going to take this out. Now I'm going to have a lot left of this, so this can be saved for another project. What we'll do is we'll unroll some. And we're just going to go from one end on the edge over the screw holes to the edge here. Then we're going to cut it. There's two ways to cut it. I'm going to use my putty knife. So we're going to take that. We're just going to rip it up. Then we're going to take that and pull up the corner a little bit. And that'll be good for right there for that seal. Now for this seal, this is going to run down the same area. Make sure we get a good snug fit up against the edge. And then we're just going to go over the screw holes again. And we're going to go back beyond a little bit. So it'll be like right about there where the color changes. And we're going to rip that right there. So that one's good. And we'll go back the other way. So we'll run that up here, right on down. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut it with our blade. So we're going to cut it right there. And then we have one more piece to do, and that'll be our sealant. And then we'll push that down so it's good and snug. Over the screw holes again. That one I kind of came out a little bit too far on. So we'll get closer to the edge. So we'll do it like that. And then we'll take this and just cut it there. And we'll put this away for future use. And so that's good. Put that out of the way. Now we want to peel our top off. So we're going to peel that off and put that in the trash box. Peel this off. Make sure we got a good seam there. We're going to peel that off and put this over out of the way. We'll peel this one off. Make sure we got a good corner seam there. And that's good. Put that in the trash can. And our last one. And we'll make sure that's a good seal in the corners, which it is. All right. So now we can take our skylight, set it in, line up the screw holes, make sure once again the hinge is on the front because that's where we want it to go down. Oops, got my mic cord out of the way. Make sure we have all of our electrical wires inside, all 4 of them. And then this we're going to line up, put it in the hole, and we're going to try to line up our screw holes as best we can. Now the next task is we're going to take the screws that they gave us, the new ones, and we're going to set this in with those. I'm going to put some on each side, a couple. That one went in nice. And I'm tightening them down just till the side oozes out a little bit from that sealant. I'm going to seal the outer edges and the screw holes here with the sealant, so this is actually sealed underneath here then, because that'd be a good idea to seal underneath there instead of on top. So that's be the next step, is to seal around the outer edges with the lap sealant. So on the lap sealant, I'm going to cut the end off. I'm not going to do too big of a flow. I want a little flow. It's going to be very liquidy, and I'm going to have to puncture the end of the caulking tube. So let's take that tool off the edge here, and we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple holes in there, so that's all set. Take a towel and we'll wipe that off. Now this we got to be careful with, because this is going to be a very messy job. We don't want to get lap sealant all over everything. So we just want to put it where we need it, not too much, but just the right amount. So we're going to lap seal over the holes in the edges. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over the edges, and then I'll come back, and I'll do the holes where the screws were. I have to go over there and do that side. So I'm going to do the screw holes, because we don't want it seeping down into there. And I do want to go over this edge of the tape. And I don't see any gaps over here, so now I want to cover up where this black was. And that will level down. All right. I missed one screw hole right here. So let's get that taken care of. So we have that sealed in now. It just has to set. I'm going to take the pressure off my caulking gun. Put that in. And next thing I do is measure where the bracket holes go for the rain cover. Now that I have the outer edges all sealed with the lap, and I have inside the mounting brackets to the rain cover are on and screwed in, all of our seams look good, I can bring this down and seal it, and I'll put the clips into that and lock that down. And then once I have that done, I'll go inside. Okay. Now we have the roof done, we have to do the inside connections. I have 4 wires here and 4 wires here. I'll do a butt connection, a crimp connection, put them on in the correct order, and then put the sleeve inside and fasten the sleeve, and then we'll give it a test and we should be good to go. So we're almost near the end of this project. Have the wires all in and connected. I turn the switch on, and the fan works, so that's good. And I tested both directions, in and out, and that worked. And the thermostat over on the wall there, I tested, and that worked. So now it's all wired correctly. So what I have to do is take the inner sleeve and put that up in the ceiling and screw the hole, drill some holes in the corners and mount that, and then the project will be all completed. I can put the tools away and enjoy. I went to put the lower trim in. This is the old one, as you can see how yellow it is. I went to put this in, but on the new one, fell short of the vent by around 1 inch. This piece is 1 inch taller than the piece that they shipped me, so it was short. And so there was a big gap, and obviously you can't have that gap. So what I did to solve the gap problem was I went to the home center and bought a piece of plastic trim, union trim for a plastic wallboard, and I cut it and put it on the inside of the rail, on the inside of the cover here, and trimmed it down so that then that would go up and extend the length. And if you look up into the fan, you can see the trim here where it's around the outside edge, and then I sealed the top edge with a little white silicone caulking. So now it's all set. It's a clean finish and it looks nice. So our initial couple-hour installation turned into a two-day installation due to the fact, number one, it rained and I can't seal the roof correctly in the rain when it's wet. Number two, the wiring on the light when it came in was not matched with the unit that we had here, so I had to alter it to make that work, and that took some time. And then once we set the light in, which was a standard set-in, there was nothing difficult about that, the lower trim piece didn't fit correctly, so we had to modify it to make it work. We got the unit to work. It's in and it's installed. Yes, it did have its challenges, as most repairs or renovations do in motor coaches or RVs. Thank you for watching, and if you like the program, please give us a positive review, and at the bottom, don't forget to subscribe, because you never know what we're going to get into, and we try to teach and show you folks from our experiences and mistakes how to correct something or fix it by doing it yourself. And we'll see you next time. Bye.